Welcome to the Airgun Show. This week we're taking a look at a brand new BSA PCP made specifically for junior sized shooters. But first up, I'm heading back onto the farm in search of rats. We've come to the farmyard to try for a few rats. Now, our last couple of attempts have been scuppered by heavy rain and the forecast isn't much better for tonight. In fact, it's already started spitting. Now, the only good thing here is that we do have some cover, so if it really chucks it down, we know we can keep ourselves and the equipment dry. We've already had a bit of a look around and there are a few signs of rats around, which is encouraging, so I'm going to start by putting down some baits on a few likely looking spots. Right, on our last ratting session that we filmed for the Airgun Show, we found that coffee granules were a really effective holding bait. Now, the only problem tonight being is that if it rains, the granules are going to wash away. So what I've done to take advantage of that appeal of the coffee flavour is I've taken some small fish meal pellets and I've poured some really strong coffee in there. Probably about 10 teaspoons of coffee granules with about a quarter of a mug of hot water and just melted it down to make a really thick syrupy coffee brew, and I've poured it in to infuse those pellets with coffee flavour. So I know that if it rains, those pellets aren't going to wash away. Right, let's go and put a few out. I know the rats have a run along the edge of this wall, so this looks like a good place to leave them a tempting spoonful of pellets. The idea is to encourage the rats to linger in spots where I can get clear shots at them. So it's important that there are no obstructions between my shooting position and where the rodents will stop to feed. Right, well, looking at the footprints on this wet, muddy ground here, there is some serious ratty traffic here, so this is well worth a bait spot, and I hope we can account for one or two rats here later on. There are plenty of ratty looking spots here, so there's no shortage of places for me to prime with the coffee infused pellets. A great thing about using bait is that you can pace out the distance between the heaps and your shooting position to help get your ranges right. Okay, so I've got about 6 or 8 bait spots out there primed now, waiting for the rats to hopefully start moving when it gets dark. And before that happens, I just have a quick run through the kit that I'm using for tonight, which will probably look pretty familiar to most of you. The gun is the Air Arms S510 Ultimate Sporter, nice and quiet. Legal limit, which is just about perfect for this sort of relatively close range ratting, and of course it's also got that 10-shot magazine, which just saves me from messing about trying to reload once it does get dark. The scope is an MTC Mamba Pro, which seems to work pretty well with night vision add-ons. That's on there with sports match mounts, and the NV unit tonight is the NiteSite r-tek Viper. It is a brilliant add-on, and the great thing is obviously that because it's on my day scope, all of my aiming points are exactly the same as usual. The head-up shooting position necessitated by the screen can be a bit of a nuisance for shooting freehand, but for situations like tonight, where I'm on the stool, I've got the trigger sticks here, it's fantastic. It works an absolute treat. You can see in there, perfectly comfortable, steady shooting. Another great thing about the r-tek obviously is also that it's got that onboard SD card for recording video straight through the scope, which should make our lives a little bit easier tonight for catching some footage if we do get a few shots. So we're all set. We just need the light to fade, and if all goes to plan, for 1 or 2 rats to venture out to feed under the cover of darkness. Right, well, it's properly dark now, so we've changed across to the night vision camera. Been scanning around for a while and I haven't seen any sign of a rat yet, which is a bit concerning, but we'll keep plugging away and see what happens. The rats do eventually show themselves, but they don't want to hang around. Right, well, there are a couple of rats moving now, but they are extremely skittish and refusing to keep still to offer me a shot. Now, funnily enough, Nikki did notice a couple of cats up by where we parked the car when we arrived, and I'm just hoping that these rats aren't used to them prowling around at night and just going to be too afraid to hang around away from cover. Again, I'm just going to stick with it and hope that those baits start to work. I spotted that eye shine then and I thought it was going to be a rat, but turns out it's a toad, so we'll leave him to go on his way. At last. This looks more promising. Well, that one was well on the bait spot. I reckon it was about 13-14 metres away, and it's got us off the mark. Well, and there's another one. That one was a bit further. I reckon that was about 18-20 metres away. Wasn't on a bait spot actually. And I've just realised I didn't press record. So although the r-tek is very handy for capturing that through the scope footage, you do need to remember to press the button. Well, that was another extremely fidgety rat. Now, I could have taken a pot shot then, but although this is rat shooting, I still want to treat the quarry with respect, and I want to get those clean headshots when the opportunity's there. That one was on one of the bait spots then. I did the too long over the shot and it's darted off, but hopefully it'll be back again. That was a really good clean headshot. Flipped around a little bit after it was initially bowled over, but it was the sort of swift dispatch that you really want to try and achieve. Now that one also proves the appeal of those bait spots. That rat had had a taste of that bait, but although it darted off, it wanted to get back out, get more. It settled down there, offered me the shot that I wanted. It looks like that rat managed to escape, but it makes the mistake of stopping to feed on the other side of the rubble. Well, that looked like a big one, and it was well down on one of those bait spots. Once again, I forgot to press record, so I'm hoping Nicky got that one. Right, well, it's been quite a while since that last shot, and it's gone completely dead here now. We haven't seen a rat since. So what we're going to do is move along a bit further down the farm to a spot where we can cover a heap of rubble where there have been rats nesting in the past. Now, we haven't got any bait spots out there, but we'll give it a try. With the initial target area failing to produce the expected action, it's time for a move. And I'm pleased that I remembered to bring my torch with me, because night vision kit isn't quite so good when it comes to making your way safely around the farm. And it seems that move wasn't a complete waste of time, as I eventually spot a rat clambering around in the clutter. Well, that one was pretty close. I've managed to smack it into the head and flop it back into those nettles. Now, unfortunately, Nicky couldn't get onto that one. It was obscured from where he was sat, but I think I've managed to capture it on the NiteSite r-tek, so we should have some footage of that one. Right, well, we've given it a fair crack here, but apart from that early one that we had, we've seen no rats moving at all. So although we haven't got baits out here, it really wouldn't be worth it, because I don't think there are enough rats about to actually home in on them. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get more from that first spot, but that's the way it goes sometimes, and we have managed to account for a few. So what I'm going to do now is pick up this one and the other ones across the way and head for home. A tougher night's ratting than I'd hoped for there, but at least we managed to bag a few. And now, it's the Airgun Show news.
This is the Airgun Show news. It's just 1 month until the Northern Shooting Show. This indoor-outdoor shooting extravaganza takes place for the second time at the Yorkshire Event Centre in Harrogate on the 6th and the 7th of May. This year's show is set to grow by a third thanks to the addition of a state-of-the-art new hall. And that's in addition to all the shooting exhibitors and attractions you know and love. We'll be there with Airgun Shooter magazine. Don't forget to stop by and pick up a copy of the New Look magazine. A phone app has turned out to be a huge success in the fight against poaching. Project Poacher, supported by Basque, has been downloaded more than 5,500 times and used to report 135 poaching incidents since it was launched a year and a half ago. You can download the app for free on any Android, Apple or Windows smartphone. Basque said the app was helping solve a major issue with poaching, which is that incidents often go unreported. Bell Target could be returning to pubs across the UK once more. Once a popular spot in the Midlands, Bell Target is now spreading across Lincolnshire thanks to the efforts of Dave Carter, Development Officer for the Lincolnshire Small Bore Rifle Association. With support from Air Arms and the Northern Shooting Show, he's got several pubs interested in hosting Bell Target. There's even a league starting in September. Dave said the support he received meant he would be able to grow the league and welcome more newcomers to the sport. And finally, the SNP might have brought airgun licensing to Scotland, but now it seems to be backing off from imposing further controls on guns. Asked about gun crime in the Scottish Parliament, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon emphasised that firearms offences have fallen by 3/4 in the past decade north of the border. She boasted that Scotland already had some of the strongest firearms legislation in the world. As for airgun licensing, it's understood the police are still dealing with a huge backlog of licence applications. That was the Airgun Show news.
The BSA Ultra is renowned for being an extremely compact airgun, and its latest guise sees it getting even smaller. The Ultra JSR weighs a mere 2.3 kilos, and at less than 70 centimetres long, it's a pretty tiny PCP. This gun has been scaled down for very good reason. The JSR in its name stands for Junior Stock Rifle. It's been designed with young shooters in mind, and more specifically, giving youngsters the best possible introduction to shooting with pre-charged airguns. Okay, wait, it's ready now. Come a bit closer to the scope, that's it. And ready when you're ready. Good girl. Although it's intended for youngsters, the Ultra JSR is not a cheap airgun. Its recommended retail price is £369. That's a significant outlay, but then this is a quality British air rifle. Its price also seems a lot more reasonable when you compare it with the price of a games console with a few games. And I certainly know what I prefer my kids to be doing. As the name suggests, a key difference between this gun and the standard Ultra is its stock. It's been significantly reduced in size to make it better proportioned for smaller shooters. It's also narrower to suit small hands. It's actually a very nice piece of beech woodwork. The ambidextrous handle features neat panels of checkering on either side of the forend and pistol grip, and there's a nice high cheek piece. Also, when the young shooter has outgrown this stock, it can easily be replaced with the standard Ultra handle. Another difference between the JSR and the standard Ultra is its power, which is set at 6 foot-pounds. That lower power reduces the risk of ricochet, making it ideal for backyard shooting. It also increases shot capacity to more than 120 shots from a single 232 bar fill. At 6 foot-pounds, the 177 caliber test gun was also capable of knocking over some pretty heavy targets at beyond 30 metres. Just as you'd expect from BSA, this is a very well made airgun, and it boasts the same features as you'd find on the full-sized version, including quick fill charging and a clearly marked pressure gauge on the underside of the stock. You even get BSA's famous cold hammer forged barrel, which is threaded to accept a silencer if you want to fit one. One thing you don't get with this setup is open sights. That's fairly standard with PCPs, although I do think they help to keep things simple when teaching youngsters basic shooting technique. However, there is a nice long scope rail, so it's easy to mount a set of tellies. Available in 177 and 22 caliber, the JSR runs the latest version of BSA's slick, bolt-driven 10-shot magazine. The system makes for fast and positive cocking and reloading, although it is a bit stiff for smaller children to operate. That shouldn't be any great problem though, because they should be shooting under close supervision. You also get an excellent 2-stage trigger unit. It's adjustable, but I've left this one on the factory setting, which I'm pleased to say is crisp and predictable without feeling too light. As with the standard Ultra, there's also a positive safety catch conveniently positioned towards the rear of the action. I'm over 6 feet tall, so the JSR is way too small for me. Nonetheless, I've still put quite a few shots through it, and I can vouch for the fact that it's a very accurate little airgun, capable of producing single-hole groups over typical airgun ranges. Regardless of what I think, we really need some junior-sized shooters to find out whether the JSR does what it's intended to do. So, I've called on the services of 2 half-tame children to find out how they get on with it. Under my close supervision, of course. George is a tall 11-year-old and he's really enjoyed shooting this little BSA. He's particularly appreciated having a smaller, lighter gun when it comes to shooting freehand, although it looks like he's going to have to move on to a bigger stock before too long. Violet is 8 years old, and I'd say the JSR is more or less perfectly proportioned for her. It's still a little bit heavy for her to shoot freehand, and she's finding the cocking bolt a bit of a struggle to operate on her own. That said, she's still had a fantastic time using it, and I can't see her wanting to part with it anytime soon. So, that's the BSA Ultra JSR, an extremely impressive pre-charged airgun designed specifically with young shooters in mind. So let's let the kids have the last word. George, what did you think of it?
I loved it. I'd really like one.
And Violet, what do you reckon?
It was great fun. I'd love one too.
Thank you very much, BSA. It looks like these two are going to have to get weekend jobs and start saving up. That's all for this week, but we'll be back again in a fortnight. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you aren't already a member of the BASC, it's time you joined the organisation that works to promote and protect your sport.